What up, guys? Welcome to the Son of Wanda. More huge news from Marvel. James Spader is coming back as Ultron in the MCU. So let's conversation. Alright, guys. It's true. It happened. James Spader is coming back as Ultron in the MCU. Which, of course, hence means Ultron isn't dead. Which, that's even better. So I'm going to get into my thoughts on this specific piece of news, and I'm going to tell you why I think that this is an amazing, amazing idea. Now, some people might call this desperate because, you know, they're bringing a lot of people back. They're bringing Robert Downey Jr. back as Dr. Doom instead of Iron Man. Now they're bringing James Spader back as Ultron, and you know, some people might say that that seems desperate from Marvel's part just because they haven't, you know, it's been terrible lately, all their different projects and whatever. But while I do think that this is probably them being desperate, I still see both of those things as definitely a step in the right direction. They need to go back to the classic Marvel characters. They need to go back to the characters that work for them, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's something that not just Marvel, but all different studios need to learn. And so we've got Ultron back now, and he's supposed to show up in the... James Spader is specifically coming back as Ultron for the new Marvel series, live-action series, Vision Quest, or something like that. A new Vision TV show that's supposed to be coming out supposedly in 2026. So as far as the Vision TV show goes, when I had heard about its existence beforehand, I wasn't overly, excited. I was like, okay, I guess we'll be picking up after the events of WandaVision. And if you don't know, if you haven't seen WandaVision, spoilers, but at the end of WandaVision, the Vision that Wanda created out of, her magic has a conversation with the Vision that Sword repurposed from the original Vision, the White Vision. And that conversation basically leads to WandaVision giving either his memories or bringing back original Vision's memories, and then White Vision just pieces out. There's a lot going on. It's confusing. It's confusing. But bottom line is, White Vision pieces out. He's gone. So, and it's just hilarious because it was such a dumb way to end that whole deal, with him just flying away, and you never see him again. There's no hint to where he went or where he's going to go, and we haven't seen him since, and that was 2021. That was 3 years ago, and we haven't seen or heard anything from Vision at all at any point in the rest of the MCU. So, we're going to get this series, I assume, about White Vision, maybe him recovering more of his memories, realizing who he is fully, becoming the Vision that we once knew from, the Infinity Saga. And, that idea sounds good enough, but, just because of Marvel's recent failings, it's just hard to really be excited for a premise like that. And also, I'm really not... I've started to get tired of the TV show thing in general. I feel like every other day I'm just hearing about this new announcement of a TV show. And I kind of just wish that Marvel would just stick with movies. I really don't want them to do the TV show thing anymore. If they can make it good, then great. But they haven't made it good so far at all. So, yeah. Bottom line, wasn't super excited. Then this announcement came, and now I am super excited. Because, to be honest, I think Ultron is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Avengers villain from the Marvel Universe. And I know him best from the cartoons, specifically Avengers vs. Mightiest Heroes, which I literally reference all the time. I feel like in every video now I'm talking about that cartoon, just because it's so freaking good. But he's also in this animated, smaller movie called Avengers of Tomorrow. I always forget, Next Avengers of Tomorrow, something like that. And Ultron's the main bad guy in that movie. And I grew up with both of those animated things as a kid, so I always knew about Ultron. I always knew how menacing he was, how he was presented as such this unstoppable force. And he always came back. He always could revive himself because he was an artificial intelligence. He was mechanical. He always found a way to return. And so when they introduced him in Age of Ultron, they killed him off in his first appearance. and Lady like stayed dead, which is not how that's supposed to go at all. And it was just, I have a lot of issues with Age of Ultron, to be quite honest. I like James Spader as Ultron. I think he brings a nice like charisma, even though I'm not overly fond of them bringing the more like a more human side to Ultron, mainly because in the cartoons, in the comics, he's definitely presented as a stone cold robot, not really a like he doesn't have a ton of human characteristics. So they were trying to go for like more of a Tony Stark vibe because Tony Stark created Ultron. And you know, again, James Spader I think does a phenomenal job at presenting that to the audience, which is what makes Ultron as a villain work in that movie. However, I don't think he's given the character development that he needed. I don't think he is treated the best at the end of the day when it really comes down to it. He's like a villain to just kind of throw in there for the Avengers for the second movie, and then just to be completely forgotten about. And that's just not what you do with Ultron. And so, yes, at the end of Age of Ultron, he is seemingly killed wholesale. Because Vision burns him out of the internet, so Ultron can't escape through the internet, and they seemingly destroy all of his robots. Now, I think that there are a billion ways, logical ways, that they have to bring Ultron back into the MCU. There could have been another robot that they didn't kill. Ultron is an AI, so I get that Vision burned him out of the internet, but still, it's like, at some point he could have restored his connection after he did that. There's a lot of things that Ultron could do and a lot of ways for him to return. And also, there are even some Easter eggs throughout the MCU, well, I say throughout the MCU, really just in Spider-Man Homecoming, that allude to his possible comeback. Because in the scene in Spider-Man Homecoming where Spider-Man gets trapped in, like, the damage control facility, he's rummaging through these, leftover parts from a bunch of the different battles that the Avengers have had and different heroes have had and whatnot. Like, in this truck, there's a bunch of different, like, items acquired from the battles. And one of them is an Ultron head. But not like one of the Ultron heads of, like, Ultron's minions from Age of Ultron. It looks almost like the real Ultron's actual head. And it's glowing. Like, his eyes are glowing. And it was emphasized constantly in Avengers Age of Ultron that you had to destroy every single part of Ultron. Every ounce of his, like, artificial intelligence, of his body, you had to destroy it all.
So he must be destroyed. Every form he's built, every trace of his presence on the net.
And if that head is glowing, you would figure that means that some part of Ultron is still around. Also in Homecoming, before that scene, when one of Vulture's minions is testing out this cannon that they made, or showing it to Prowler, it's a repurposed Ultron arm turned into a cannon, like a gun. And again, that's another part of Ultron that is now functional. I guess because Vulture and his minions made it functional, but still, nonetheless, it's a functional piece of Ultron tech. So both of those things to me allude to him still being around. And also, in Age of Ultron, Ultron creates the body of Vision as a new body for himself to inhabit. So he's downloading his programming into Vision's body when when Vision is being created, and he gets to like 86%, and then that's when the Avengers get the body, and Tony and Bruce repurpose it, and then Thor does his lightning to basically bring Vision to life. It's alive! It's alive! You know, that whole deal.
Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
But if Ultron got to 86% in Vision's body, and Tony Stark was so confident that Jarvis's AI could beat Ultron's AI, basically override Ultron's AI in Vision's body. But Ultron is a really slippery and clever AI, so there's no reason to assume that he couldn't have had any traces left in Vision's body. In fact, that was a theory I had when WandaVision was coming out. Like, me and my dad had a channel called As Father and Son before I made this one. And we were watching WandaVision, and we had a video where we discussed some theories we had, and I genuinely thought that they were setting up Ultron. Like, it seemed like there were more allusions to that, to him coming back, to him being responsible for some of the crazy things happening in WandaVision. Like, him possibly still inhabiting Vision, like the real Vision, White Vision, or the original Vision, again, confusing, his body. And me and my dad thought that James Spader's voice might come out of White Vision's body at the end of the series, and we would have just freaked out completely. But that didn't happen, and it felt like a huge missed opportunity, as many things did with WandaVision. And so, you know, our hopes and dreams were dashed upon the rocks. But now that they've announced him coming back in Vision Quest, a new Vision TV show, it almost feels like that is somewhat redeemed, and that I was kind of right, but not really. I highly doubt back then that they were planning to bring Ultron back. But after all the failings of the MCU, now they're probably realizing, yeah, we need to bring some of our good characters back. And I am all for that. Even if it seems desperate, I am all for them bringing good characters back so you don't have to rely on the new bad ones, and you bring back what made Marvel awesome. Like, Ultron's a phenomenal villain. He's one of the best Marvel villains ever. And so bringing him back is a good thing. Now, of course, there is the possibility of them completely screwing it up. That is very real. That is a very real possibility. However, if Marvel is really changing, if they're getting back to the basics, if they're getting back to being awesome, then this could be great. Another thing that gives me hope is the guy who's going to be the showrunner for this Vision series is the same guy who's the showrunner for the Star Trek TV show Picard Season 3. Just Season 3 specifically. I've heard that season is really good. Apparently not the other seasons. I'm not a Star Trek guy at all. I haven't seen any Star Trek. But I've heard that Season 3 of that particular TV show is really, really good. So, my hope is that whatever quality that guy brought to that season of television, he'll bring to this season of television in the Vision series. A potential thing that they could be doing with this whole bringing James Spader back as Ultron thing is they could have it to where, like I said, there are still traces of Ultron in Vision's body, and Vision, as he's trying to search out, like, who he was and, like, fully remember, like, the Vision that we knew and become the Vision that we knew. As he's searching things out, the series is about Ultron being in Vision's head and Vision having to combat Ultron in his own mind to prevent Ultron from taking over Vision's body because Vision was taken out of commission in Infinity War when Thanos killed him. So I think that could be a really good premise for a TV show. Like maybe him like search more things out, rediscover his past, but at the same time dealing with Ultron constantly being in his head and trying to usurp Vision's body. I think that could be a really awesome premise and make for a really great story if they do it correctly. But again, in general, the idea of bringing James Spader back as Ultron, I am all for. And if they do it right, it could be really freaking awesome, and they better not kill him in the series. He better stay alive. Don't bring him back just to kill him again. No. Ultron always comes back. Bring Ultron back. I mean, obviously, at the end of Age of Ultron, Vision actually was the one who destroyed Ultron, or the last robot, seemingly the last robot. But again, there's billions of different ways for him to come back, and I think it wouldn't be that hard to do it in a logical way and to make a really great story out of it. But those are my thoughts on James Spader coming back as Ultron in the MCU. Let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a very blessed day. May the Lord be with you. May the Force be with you. Goodbye. And that's a wrap.